Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 66 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And I am your host, Brian. And now everyone will feel what Tim goes through every show he records with me is eternal pain and suffering.
Yes, we are kicking off the Summer Slaycation series on Pinhead, which means we're going through all 10, maybe? Is it 10? Hellraiser
12,
movies?
14, I don't know. I kind of lose count. They stopped numbering them at one point, and two came out in 1 year, so that kind of throws things off. So
yeah, so we're going to do the first three films tonight, which I believe everybody... the consensus is that these are the best of the Hellraiser films, is the first three.
Yeah, I think these are like the trilogy, like almost like the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's kind of like the three, because this obviously established the franchise and the mythology, and I think the main box set they came out with seems to only include these three for the official sets. There's those they're like the ones we bought that are just, they threw a bunch of them on a disc to save money. But if you look at all the true box sets, like the ones that they really made an effort for, they're all just the first three films. Sometimes just first two. Yeah,
I was about to say, sometimes you see just the first two, because the first two are kind of a self-contained story.
Yeah.
Whereas three is kind of a little bit of a standalone. It does have some tie back, but it is a little bit of a standalone to the first two. So we'll get right into that right after our first chop. So, Brian, the old roulette wheel on the Backlog Project has been stuck in one position.
Apparently.
And it just keeps bouncing back between the Mummy and Child's Play over and over. I got a random number generator, and it will only land on 4 or whatever the Mummy is. So
now, because aren't you? Well, also you're running out, right? You take do you remove the choices once you're done with them?
Yeah. So I'm down to only 12 discs. So
yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like it. And then again, it's like maybe it's borrowing from the whatever Apple uses sometimes to shuffle songs, when you always get that one song, and no matter when you shuffle, it always appears.
I think it's telling me I really need to get through this Mummy box set. So the next one up on the list was The Mummy's Curse from 1944. An irrigation project unearthed the mummy, who was buried in quicksand in Louisiana, of all places. So,
wasn't that where they bury all the mummies, of course?
They were apparently running out of ideas.
Yeah, they think it's Egypt, but it's really Louisiana.
Yeah. Again, this one was, I enjoyed a little bit more than the last one, but these tail-end mummy movies, man, they're just not that great. They're only about an hour long, so they're not hard to get through, but the Mummy in general is kind of a boring franchise to me, because I'm not really a fan of the Mummy. I've never thought the Mummy was scary in any way, shape, or form. But this one, it has Lon Chaney comes back as the Mummy. It has kind of a slow start. Yeah, not recommended. I kind of put it on the same level as the last one. I enjoyed it a little bit more, but maybe that was because I was paying more attention to it. I don't know.
Well, the good thing is, it sounds like you're almost ready to wrap it up.
Exactly. You haven't been fired in a while.
I haven't. And the funniest thing is, as soon as I started going this, I'm like, gotta remember this one. Gotta remember this joke. Gotta remember. How sad is that?
So anyway, yeah, the Mummy's Curse. But you know what? It's Universal. Like I always say, Universal horror is good horror. Even the bad ones are actually kind of good. So, and then the next one up, speaking of bad horror, is The Alphabet Project, and I am on letter K. Lot of killer stuff for letter K. So I had plenty of options, but I went with one that was on Shudder, because I've always wanted to see a nunsploitation movie.
Really? Did you just invent that?
This is an actual genre.
That's not like a Tim Horror Sniglet or anything?
No, that's an actual subgenre, nunsploitation. As you might expect, it's about a killer nun, and it is called Killer Nun from 1979. And I like the description on Shudder, because they mentioned that not only was this loosely based on true events.
Loosely. There was a nun. Probably. That was the looseness.
It was also outright banned in England, because this is one of those video nasties that was so horrendous and so horrible and so sacrilegious that they had to ban it outright.
So we need to have Matt from Yorkshire see this so he could.
Yeah,
because he probably never got to see
1979. This has everything you would want in a Killer Nun movie. It's got Killer Nun. It's got lesbians. It's got male frontal nudity. It's got killing. It's got denture smashing. It's got all kinds of things. But anyway, this nun has brain surgery, and the doctor warns her that she's trying to come back from it too soon. She's not giving herself enough time to recover. Well, apparently this causes her to go kind of wild and crazy, and before you know it, our nun is doing nasty things and having affairs and doing drugs and killing people, and it's just a horrible, horrible nightmare.
Well, I mean, some of that is okay. I mean, I guess as long as they don't make it a habit. Sorry, that's too in a row.
Next week's show is just going to be me.
Yeah, it's just going to be
Do you realize that?
Yeah. And I got to say something funny, too. So I have this, the way, you guys don't see this, of course, but Tim, when we do a rundown, we have, we don't exactly write out, obviously, word for word what we say, of course, but, we just have the breakdown of what the topic is in the first chop. So this one, Kim, K, because it's K, Tim puts like K is for, and then he puts a thing. So, but it's so funny. For some reason, this one just struck me. I'm as I've seen these week after week now, I get this like Tim's watching this like macabre version of Sesame Street or something. It's like where Elmo comes on. He's like, K is for Killer Nun. It's like, and it's like, and then Tim just keeps going along, learning the alphabet as he discovers all these horror
alphabet of horror. That's right. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Killer Nun is got. It's not a great movie, but if you want to see like a campy, what you would expect from a Killer Nun movie from the 70s, this delivers on all fronts.
I expect a lot, so I will give this a try though, based on your regular. What was it on? Was it on Shudder?
It was on Shudder. Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like a Shudder movie. I tell you,
yeah.
That sounds like right one of those ones that they love to put on.
I'm a sucker for if it's on Shudder and it's 70s,
yeah,
and especially if it's been banned for some reason. I'm like,
yeah, I know. Tim's like, wow, banned, and I can watch it. But actually, speaking of Shudder, Tim, tell everyone, I guess, about you said there's a new format of Shudder that they did.
Oh yeah, so I was actually in the beta, which probably every subscriber was. I don't know. I got an email saying check out the new Shudder. And I clicked on it, and it was a really cool interface. They have, the old Shudder interface. That's the one complaint I've always had of Shudder is their interface is kind of atrocious.
Yeah.
But they've done a lot of work to it. It's now finally released, like, to everybody, I think. The new interface basically copies Netflix to an extent, which is fine because Netflix arguably has the best interface of any movie streaming platform.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to just go through it.
So, yeah, the new interface for Shudder is fantastic. It's at least a lot better than it was. Obviously, anything can be improved, but I think this is a huge step up for them. So definitely go check that out if you're a Shudder subscriber and haven't checked it in a while.
Yeah, I went on quickly the other. I did notice something was a little different, but I was just really quickly popping it on, so I didn't really get a chance to explore it too much. Which I will tonight, though, as I put the K is for Killer Nun in my queue.
And we got some cool Halloween Horror Nights announcements last week. It seems like they're making this event just for us.
Yeah, it's like they overheard. Like Tim the other day said, he goes, okay, obviously someone who is behind the planning of Halloween Horror Nights this year is a Civil Gore listener, because it seems like it just couldn't have been more stuff that Tim and I wanted at our first Halloween Horror Nights, and it just it just keeps arriving. And funny how funny this got announced right after our Chucky featurette. So they announced a Chucky scare zone and a Killer Clowns from Outer Space scare zone. Now, just for the people that aren't in the know and don't understand. So there's, most of these haunted events, there's what they call the actual houses and scare zones. Scare zones are where you just walk through the midway or whatever section of the park you're in, and the basically it happens all around you, and you really can't avoid it. As a house you could choose not to go in, but this stuff is around, and Universal takes it up a notch. I mean, most your average theme parks will have the same standard things of people running up behind you and going bleh, and or like sliding on their knees on these shin pads that spark up, or slamming garbage cans. But Universal does a much more fantastic thing, and the fact that from what I understand, it's like supposedly it's a whole bunch of like a crazy toy factory come to life, including Chucky, and you're walking through all that, which sounds really cool. Just that you can't avoid it. You're just literally walking through to whatever you're going to next, and this is all around you. So that's gonna be awesome.
I'll tell you that one haunt we went to last year, and I may have mentioned it on the show. I can't remember if I mentioned this particular part, but there was a sequence. This was the one up near my dad's that is out in the forest. There was a sequence where you're going through this hallway, and there was a Chucky doll at the end of the hallway. And it's just laying there, and did not think anything of it, and that freaking thing got up and ran at me. Whoa. It was a kid. They had dressed a little kid in this costume. And it scared the crap out of me, because I did not expect that. You don't expect a kid to be in a haunt.
Yeah.
But this is like a volunteer fireman haunt. So like everybody, the whole community comes together and does this thing. So there's kids willing to do it. And they sit out there.
That is awesome.
In this Chucky costume. I mean, you see this little 3-foot high thing running at you. It freaked me out.
I would have been completely going the other way. Well, didn't they have either a kid or a very small not a tall person do this? I am at the mysterious mansion we went. Remember where they were like crawling over our heads, and they came out from behind something, and they were really short. They could have been a kid, or it could have just been like a short adult. But I remember that.
Yeah, I've seen things where they do like an amputee will like dress, and like I've seen the haunts there where like somebody with no legs in real life. But they dress up, and then they like literally have no legs, and they're coming, crawling at you over the floor. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like because you don't expect that.
Right.
You're expecting, just an average sized person to jump out at you.
Yeah.
Anything changes that. It's crazy.
Yeah. You expect them at eye level, so you can kind of either stare them down or just look away. But when they're down below you and you don't see them, and you just all of a sudden they're at your feet, like you're like, whoa, what the heck are you supposed to do? It's like. Kick, just do a kick. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, but yeah. Speaking of Halloween Horror Nights, they're gonna have the trick or treat scare zone as well, right?
No, that's actually full house. It was a scare zone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. It was a scare zone. Now it's a full house. Yeah, but we also got word this week that a trick or treat collector's edition is coming from Scream Factory, which sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to double dip on this one.
Yeah. Me too. Because there are all new features coming for this, supposedly. I didn't even list them on the rundown, but we did share the post, so check out our Facebook post of that, because there's a whole huge write-up on what's coming on this disc. So
yeah, and I shouldn't say bare bones, because the original disc is not bad. It's got commentaries, it's got featurettes,
it does. Everything. Yeah, and actually, I remember I actually double dipped already, because back at the time, that was when I was just starting to get like Blu-rays, and if I got, most of the time I would only reserve for Blu-rays for like the big blockbuster sci-fi films, and anything else I would just get on regular DVD. So I had gotten the original Trick or Treat on DVD until I found out that the Blu-ray version, that was kind of the thing they were doing at that time to entice people to start switching over, really. So the Blu-ray had all the deleted scenes on it and all this extra stuff that the DVD just didn't have. So I had to already double dip, so for me it's a triple dip, but for a movie that I love so much, that's a yearly watch. I mean, come on, how do I not get this? And yeah, I think Scream Factory is making Tim and my wallet scream lately.
Yeah.
Especially which we'll get to as our final story, even though usually we try and sync them up, but this one we'll save for the end because it's kind of cool. So
yeah, well, we can't even escape the grocery store now because. Yeah. Funko, we talked about this before they first announced these Funko's new cereal line of horror cereals, but they have announced that Freddy and Jason cereals are coming this month. I still can't believe this is actually true.
I know. Well, especially with the whole thing with the license issues. Like, how did this able to be, how was this able to slip through? How was this able? The game gets all this stuff, but this is now coming out. this month after, all things were supposedly on hold. I wonder if there was like a cutoff period. Like if you had your product ready to go before a certain date, you were allowed to release it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. These are going to be available from the article. It says they're going to be available at, I guess they're going to have them at GameStop and Hot Topics. They're going to have them like weird places, but I'm definitely going to track those down and get those. At least the Freddy and Jason ones at a minimum.
Yeah, and then if you obviously, Tim and I will help each other out. We'll make sure we all get a full set. And then of course they had to say, "Oh, you need 2," because each of them supposedly comes with a little like mini Funko Pop figure to add to it. So if you want to display it and eat it, so I figure I'll buy 2 boxes of everything. I'll eat one and open it to get the toy and leave the other one as like a collector's item, much to Julie's chagrin, which I'm sure she will be thrilled at, that I'm literally keeping boxes of cereal in the house that will never be eaten.
Yeah, I kept a box of Batman cereal for like 6 or 7 years.
Oh my
God. 1989 cereal, because I used to collect everything Batman, like everything. When that movie came out, I had every Batman thing you could imagine, including the nasty giant box of cereal that was
that
stale.
yellow cereal. It
was Captain Crunch. It was basically Captain Crunch,
just with a Batman logo. Yeah.
I finally threw it out. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I at one point I was saving. It was when the Star Wars figures started coming back out again in the early 90s, and you could get the Han Solo and Stormtrooper if you bought
I
the
remember
Fruit
that.
Loops.
Yeah.
So we ended up with me and my roommates ended up with through college had cases of Fruit Loops. We were like trying to find things to do with it. It was crazy. I mean, at one point we decided, let's try making Fruit Loop treats, instead of Rice Krispie treats. We're like, cereal, right? Well, no, this doesn't quite have the same consistency as a Rice Krispie treat. So it didn't go. So basically, you end up holding it. And it literally starts it feels like it's crawling down your arm because it just doesn't hold together right. I'm sure if we would have cooked it longer, but we based it off of. We literally just replaced Rice Krispies with Fruit Loops, and that's what happened. So not a good idea. But yeah. So that's. But yeah. So
the things you'll do in college,
right?
Anyway.
Right, and for collectibles of stuff you like. So.
And speaking of collectibles, we have 2 new Steelbook editions coming from Scream Factory. These are the Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 Steelbooks, limited to 10,000 each. They will have the same features as the current versions, but they have some really cool artwork. Go take it. We put a link on that on our Facebook page, I believe.
Yeah. I shared it. I think I might have shared it on Twitter also. Yeah, the artwork is so awesome. Because it's artwork that you've never seen before done, as far as I know, for either of these movies. Like it has like one. I think Halloween 2 is just Michael Myers walking down in flames down the hospital hallway, which was a really cool scene to begin with. So now that you got that on your artwork, and it's drawn in like that painted style, so it's really cool.
Yeah, those look really neat. I probably will not get these only because I've got the box set. And my double dipping can only go so far.
You know what? You know where they got me? Limited to 10,000. So that's they know how to draw me in. They've suckered me in. And I have those other old Halloween 4 and Halloween 5 DVD steel. Remember the tins they used to come out with? I have those.
Yeah, I've still got mine.
Yeah, I can't I can't stop with it's stupid. It's probably one I'll never open up. But then again, if I ever, my next TV will be probably 4K, so, and maybe I'll open them, and then I could watch Halloween 2 and 3 only in 4K.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, we forgot to mention, so, these 2 are coming out on October 9th, and along with the Trick or Treat Collector's Edition on October 9th. So October 9th, when you hear a whimper out of your pocket, that is your wallet screaming, because you're probably going to drop easily, like, because I would say that the Scream Factory thing's usually $25 to $30. These will probably be $30. So you're almost dropping $100 on 3 discs here if you get these 3. But
yeah,
maybe I'll save up some Amazon points.
We'll be broke from Universal.
I know, and we get right back. And don't forget the Halloween will come out, and the new movie, and I'm sure there'll be merchandise for that. And then that mask is supposed to be out around then that we all want.
Yeah, you can actually pre-order that right now.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. Oh, and then isn't that when Fangoria starts to come out?
Yeah.
And horror.
Yeah.
Oh my God, forget it. Everything's.
It's gonna be a crazy Halloween.
Yeah. So, by the way, that's when we're gonna announce our Patreon. No,
Yeah, exactly.
We did not do that yet, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right, well, let's get right into this week's Discmemberment.
Wait, no, please, God, no, don't cut off my...
All right, these are the Blu-ray releases for July 10th, 2018, and the first one up is our pick of the week. Me and Brian agree again.
Yes.
This is A Quiet Place from 2018, released by Paramount, directed by John Krasinski, starring Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, and Millicent Simmons. In a post-apocalyptic world, a family is forced to live in silence while hiding from monsters with ultra-sensitive hearing. And this one will include 3 featurettes. But I really like this movie. This will definitely be a purchase for me.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it, but this is one of those ones that I've been dying to see, and I just, due to circumstance, missed it in the theater. And I know Julie's been dying to see it, so this is one that I know we'll buy it right. The first day it comes out, and we'll probably watch it right away. And it'll be good because we'll actually have it in a quiet place because and things that Tim had to hear of people eating their snacks and all that stuff. So
yeah, this is one of the few movies I would recommend works better at home than in a theater. So that'll definitely be good. Yeah. The next up is one I've actually heard good things about this movie. This one is called Who Can Kill a Child? Horrible title, but that answer might have been me on the way back from Carowinds this weekend when my kids were asking for the 50th time.
Oh, no.
Are we there yet? But anyway, no, they're lovely.
Yeah, they look like they had fun. I saw some pictures. They look like, yeah.
They had fun. They were just tired and overstimulated. But anyway, this one's from 1976, released by Mondo Macabro.
Oh, we haven't had one of those in a while. I'm glad it's back.
I am too.
I miss Mondo Macabro.
They're directed by Narciso Ibáñez Serrador, starring Luis Viander, Prunella Ransom. I love that name. Prunella Ransom.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And Antonio Iranzo. A couple of English tourists arrive on an island where all the children have gone crazy and are murdering the adults. So it's like an Italian Children of the Corn, it sounds like.
Yeah, or that one movie was The Children. Remember where they all came and they had the black fingernails and the black eyes and that one? Yeah.
This one features a new 4K restoration, a documentary, interviews, and an audio commentary. I'd like to check this one out. Like I said, I've heard good things about this one before.
Yeah, and I also do want to. I eventually want to own a Mondo Macabro, Mondo Macabro title at some point, just to have it.
Yeah. Now the next one up almost became my.
I don't even know what this is.
It almost became my pick of the week just because. This one is called The God Monster of Indian Flats. It's from 1973. A new company, AGFA. Sorry.
Agfa.
I don't think we've had one of those.
No.
This one was directed by Frederick Hobbs, starring Christopher Brooks, Stuart Lancaster, and E. Kerrigan Prescott. Or sounds like the rich guy from Gilligan's Island.
It does, yeah. He's like if he would in real life, if he was in one of these movies, he'd be one of those ones to be killed because he thinks he's by his way out, but he couldn't.
Well, this one is about a mutant sheep on the move near a ranch in the American West.
Oh, this would have been great for our cryptozoological month.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we'll have to do it. We'll have to do a repeat. I'm sure there's some we forgot.
Yeah. Well, this one fits into your cryptozoological theme because as a bonus, in addition to the 4K restoration and trailers and shorts, it also includes a bonus movie, The Legend of Bigfoot from 1975, which is a documentary.
So this isn't that one we saw, the Sasquatch.
No, I thought at first it was, and I was freaking out because I was like, I'm buying this.
Oh, yeah, we need to buy this one.
No, it's not. It's just a documentary.
That stinks.
The next one up is called Spiderlings.
I kind of quickly glanced at I always quickly look just to see kind of for my pick of the week thing. I don't go too into detail, but these two caught my eye. That God Monster of Indian Flats and Spiderlings or whatever, Spiderling, whatever you say. Yeah.
This one's from 2016. It's a trauma release, directed by Salem Kapsaski, starring Sophia Disgrace, which I like.
Oh my God.
Rachel Kapsaski and Lee Mark Jones.
So wait, so I guess there's a little bit of nepotism in this film in some way, shape, or form. There, I don't know.
Poverty-stricken lovers Eden and Matilda have enough trouble just getting through the days. But when Eden buys a pet spider, their real troubles start. So, this one features a featurette, interviews, and trailers.
Aha. Interesting. Okay.
Now, the next two up, I don't know what's up with the Puppet Master franchise. They're releasing these things like single disc. I'm just dying for just either give me like a huge giant box set or release these things, in some kind of order where I can figure out what to do. But
yeah, because it's like, it was like didn't we
random.
I think we had like 6 or something last time, right? Or something.
Yeah. So now this week we're going to get Puppet Master 4 and Puppet Master 5. So Puppet Master 4 was from 1993, of course released by Full Moon, directed by Jeff Burr, starring Gordon Curry, Chandra West, and Ash Adams. A young scientist and his friends, upon being attacked by demons, are protected by a gang of animated puppets. This is where the puppets started turning to be good guys.
Oh, right. Because they tried to be like, because people loved them now, and they weren't as scary anymore, and so...
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, and then Puppet Master 5, the final chapter. We know how that turned out.
Yeah, nothing is ever a final chapter. We know this.
This one was from the following year, 1994, again by Full Moon, again directed by Jeff Burr, again starring Gordon Curry and Chandra West and Ian Ogilvy.
He sounds like he'd be a friend of E. Kerrigan Prescott. They they went to school together, and they majored in rowing, that whole thing. And I was like, yes, my name is Sir Ian Ogilvy.
Hey, Michael Prescott.
Yes.
What was that? E. Kerrigan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got the other one was Prescott's in there, but
the puppets battle their most powerful enemy yet as they protect their new master from the demon god that created the secret of life.
Okay.
So, just when you thought the Puppet Master movies made a lot of sense, they kind of go off the rails.
Yeah, that's going off the rails. Yeah, one of these days they literally just need to come out with like didn't we think we saw the full set of it? But now
I think there was a full set released, and like I said, I've got the DVD set that was released that went all the way up to Puppet Master 6, I believe.
Yeah.
So I've got the first 6 on DVD.
But aren't they like the 12 or something like that? They have...
who knows? I don't know. I just want somebody to come out with a full set and just say, "Hey Tim, this is what you need to buy. This has everything Puppet Master you need."
Yeah, I'm sure Cody's already on it. She's because
as soon as she's our researcher.
Yeah, and it seems like the second these episodes drop, like any question we ask like that, she is on it. She had us our whole Hellraiser lineup right off the bat. So so Cody, as soon as you hear this, get on it right away and let us know.
Yeah, figure out how much it'll cost me to get all the Puppet Masters on Blu-ray. Okay, so theatrical releases this week is one I'm actually looking forward to. This is The First Purge, directed by Gerard McMurray, starring Ilan Noel, Lex Scott Davis, and Joyvan Wade. The film will be a prequel that will focus on the events that lead up to the very first Purge event. And Brian, I was thinking about this franchise because I'm a big fan of it. This might be one of the only franchises I can think of where the sequels I've actually enjoyed more than the original.
Right. And you know why? Because they're being very creative with them. What they're doing is, I think, and I like the way they're doing it. So they obviously they come out with the first one. The first one was, they had to introduce you. They had to sell you on the idea of this. So then obviously the second one had the advantage of you already know the plot. You don't have to set it up. You can kind of go right into it. And from another viewpoint, like another family that's now not rich and how another family will have to really struggle through this purge. Then you kind of were like, well, okay, you're probably watching it and you're kind of thinking to yourself I can't believe this, could this actually ever happen? Could this, wouldn't someone oppose this? Wouldn't there be some kind of people that are against it that come up with, some kind of candidate and they delivered with that one. So and now you always kind of wonder, well, how did it lead up to, how did this purge start? And they answer it. So they're doing it in a nice succession by going back when you want, right, when you really don't want another sequel to just continue more of the same. They're smart enough to go back. And then I think this is going to be the last movie because I think then the series starts soon, right? The TV series goes on?
Yeah. So I was thinking of this too, that the Strangers sequel, which I talked about a week or two ago, that one I thought suffered from the expansion. You know, the first one was they were trapped in the house, just like in the first Purge, they were trapped in the house.
Right.
And then when they went kind of outside of that, I thought the Strangers sequel suffered. But I felt the exact opposite with the Purge. Like, I felt like the first Purge was too claustrophobic. And when they expanded it out to see what was happening around the whole city while the Purge night was happening, that was what was fascinating.
Well, yeah, well, you got to think about it, because I think the Strangers worked in the first one because the fear was based that the whole fear had to be based that you were isolated. There were two people that were isolated in a place. They had nowhere to go, and they were kind of, trapped in this house, and it was one couple, and you didn't know why, and you got intrigued. But to kind of, the second one, it wasn't like there wasn't like a whole country full of strangers running around getting people at different spots. This was whatever this. I mean, like, I didn't see the second one, but based off your description, I know. However, the Purge, you knew that this was a countrywide thing, and the fact that you only saw one focus on it left you wanting to see what else is going on, because you saw one family that was rich and that was ultimately prepared for it, and yeah, you trapped it. It was still a good movie, but you kind of want to know what else is going on out there, because it's supposedly this countrywide thing, and why should you be restricted to only seeing what's happening with one family?
Right, yeah. I think that's why that worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'll probably try to catch it at the theater if I can, because depending on how things go. The summer, it's always busy with wanting to go to the beach and that kind of stuff.
And parks, theme parks. It's hard. Yeah, summer's hard for as much as you love the summer blockbusters. For Tim and I, that's like our theme park time. So and I loved. I remember the beach almost every other weekend if I'm not at a park trip. So it's hard to like really sneak in some movies sometime.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into our first part of Pinhead for our Summer Slaycation. We are doing the Hellraiser series, as you know, and we're going to cover the first 3 films tonight. So, first up, Hellraiser 1987, directed by Clive Barker, written by Clive Barker, starring Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, and Ashley Lawrence. And before I get into the synopsis, let's just talk Clive Barker for a minute, because I started reading his books probably late high school, early college. And I remember thinking even then, like, these are way over my head. Because he's a brilliant, very intelligent author, and his imagination is, like, way out there.
Yeah.
And I recently read The Damnation Game, which is another one of his novels, and it was still over my head, even in my 40s. So, yeah, his work is at he operates at a whole another level from other horror authors, because a lot of horror writers, and I don't mean this to be negative, because there's some horror writers that I read that their work is basically the equivalent of a B movie. It's fast paced, it's a page turner, 2-dimensional characters, but it's fun, it's entertaining, it's light, nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I really enjoy those novels, but Clive Barker was on, like, he wrote at a literary level that was way above all that, and just an imagination level that's way beyond all that. And I just wasn't used to it, because at that time I was reading a lot of these kind of pulp, trashy horror novels, and this was like something totally insane.
Yeah.
Not to mention his books are crazy long too. But,
yeah.
But it was always interesting to me how difficult it would be to adapt his stuff. I mean, it's hard to adapt Stephen King to the screen, much less somebody that's with that kind of imagination, and trying to get that up on the screen is almost an impossible task. But I think Hellraiser, along with Nightbreed, are probably the two that have done it best. And so I was very, very interested back when I was in my Clive Barker stage to check this film out. But anyway, summary. Clive Barker's feature directing debut graphically depicts the tale of a man and wife who move into an old house and discover a hideous creature. The man's half-brother.
Literally half at that point.
Literally, yeah. Who is also the woman's former lover, hiding upstairs. Having lost his earthly body to a trio of S&M demons, the Cenobites, he is brought back into existence by a drop of blood on the floor. He soon forces his former mistress to bring him his necessary human sacrifices to complete his body but the Cenobites won't be happy about this. So yeah, this one, you'll go back and forth between people that think this one or Hellraiser 2 is the best of the series. I kind of agree with the opinion that this one is the better story, maybe. But I liked, and we'll talk about it when we get to 2, but 2 was kind of my personal favorite as far as like a movie. I can't remember the first time I saw Hellraiser. I know the first time I saw it, I remember not particularly liking it that much.
I was the same way. I think, yeah. Because I think I was a little confused the first time I saw it. I wasn't obviously. I would think I was. I was obviously younger. I wasn't. And I think at that point I needed like a constant like action and stuff going on the screen. And this one's a bit of a slow burn in the beginning. Trying to establish it.
Yeah, and it's got a weird structure for a horror movie. Like it's not like a typical slasher. It's not like a typical horror movie you see. The story is so strange and out there.
Yeah, and it almost like technically you kind of pick up on this story midway through if you think about it, because there's this whole history between the wife and the brother-in-law that they feed you over time. But what's weird is usually when they do that, you feel like at least you started the story from the beginning up until that point. It's funny, even this time I kind of noticed it, but I obviously was a little more prepared for it. But this one I felt like almost like the movie starts like it is missing a beginning, more of a beginning. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like in terms of that main story.
Well, it kind of is, because you're like, why is this half dead guy coming to life in the upstairs, and who are these people? And then God forbid when the Cenobites show up, you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
literally.
And I feel like when you not this time so much. It's hard. I hadn't seen it in a while, but I'm sure. So it's hard. I was trying to go back to when I remember seeing this, about just trying to remember being confused. And I'm kind of like, I'm trying to go back to like a young Brian seeing this for the first time, and I'm like, you try and think of that, you're like, did I miss? Is this like the second movie in the because it seems like they almost expect you to understand a lot of stuff that's only first now established in this film, but it still works for it.
Yeah, but Clive Barker's books are the same way.
Oh, so they are. Okay, all right.
Yeah, he basically has this entire world in his mind, and you kind of just get thrust into it. It's not a whole lot of explanation of why things are the way they are. They just are. But that's okay. You're kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, it works for this because it's well done, and so it's like, you kind of obviously, like I said, it's a little bit of slow beginning. You're trying to figure out what's going on, but once it really picks up, you kind of forget that you may not know, because you get enough at that point to where you're just engrossed in what's going on in the now, that you don't care, that you didn't really. Maybe you came into it not knowing, but I mean, maybe there's some people that might have picked up on, that doesn't even factor into it. I don't know. Me, it just kind of factored in just a bit, and I was like, but,
yeah. This one had some cool effects along with some really janky stuff, which the whole Hellraiser series has some really ups and downs with their effects. Some of them are really good, and some of them are like really bad. This one had some really good ones. I really liked the half-form man makeup was terrific.
Yeah, the gore was great in it. Yeah,
the gore was great. The skinless guy coming out with no skin. I mean, that was all so well done. And then you had the famous engineer. They call the engineer, who was the tunnel creature that was notoriously hard to work with on set, I believe. But it was that was a cool sequence where this giant creature like chasing Ashley Lawrence down the hallway.
Yeah.
So. That was really cool. Then you have like some other stuff that looks like they just nailed some Halloween props up from like the Spirit Halloween or something and just stuck them. Some of them.
Yeah, it did. It kind of almost looked like. It also looked like one of those like local like haunts that are seasonal. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
You get that feeling like, okay, let's just splatter some like gothic looking paint on the wall here, and we'll throw in a skull on the floor. It's like,
yeah.
But I mean, it worked. It did give you a very like uneasy feeling throughout, though, which is what it was. Obviously, I'm sure was completely intentional. So that's not a surprise.
the whole Cenobites and the hell stuff. It's just it does give you. You're right. It does give you an uneasy feeling, like the chains and the hooks and the
that
gore.
That creeps me out because I like. It's so funny. One of the things that gross me out is like when you see like, and I've done it to myself. When a fish hook gets caught in your skin, you're trying to and then like, and in this they like, oh my god, every it seems like it must happen 100 times. Where they show that and between the first 3 alone, first 3 movies, and they just yank that skin away and they're pulling it. I'm like, oh, it's like,
there's a
cringing.
There's a lot of lore around the whole Hellraiser franchise, and I can't say that I've delved too deeply into it. Of course, I read the book that this was based on, which was the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah. And
then I've read some of the comics. There was actually quite a successful comic series of Hellraiser.
Oh, okay.
And I've got a couple of issues that really go into detail about the lore and stuff, which are kind of neat. That's kind of a way to flesh out, no pun intended, your Hellraiser collection. But yeah, the Cenobites in this one are, of course, Pinhead.
Yeah.
Butterball, which is kind of the overweight guy with the dark glasses. Then you got the female.
Is that really what her name is?
Her name is the female. Yeah.
Okay.
Which she talks like a guy.
Yeah.
And then the Chatterer, who is my favorite.
That's mine too. Because that thing is creepy as hell. It's like
yeah, they had a back in the 90s. They had. Oh my gosh! Olivia just walked in with a charcoal mask on and scared the crap out of me. So anyway, I thought she was a Cenobite.
Oh no.
But anyway, so the back in the 90s they had vinyl model kits of various figures, horror figures, and they were produced by a company I don't even remember the name of now. Oh my gosh, because I had tons of these, but
Revel,
and they were very expensive. No, these were like a company that I don't even think it's in business anymore, but they came in pieces. You would have to like blow dry them to get them to melt the vinyl enough to put them together.
Yeah, I know which ones you're talking about. I think they had some Star Wars ones too.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But they had a whole line of Hellraisers, and I had 2 of them. I had Pinhead and the Chatterer, and I put those together. And I had literally along the shelf of my room, I had all of these figures, and they were tall. I mean, they were like, I can't remember. They were like, God, at least 18 inches, if not taller. I mean, they were good sized, and I had a ton of these. I had Leatherface. I had a lot of Batman ones. I think I had a Dragonheart. I had the dragon from Dragonheart. I had tons of these things. Well, it ended up, long story short, they got ruined in the heat when I was storing them, and they just basically
went back
melted,
into the
and I
box.
ended up having to throw them all. Yeah, I ended up having to throw them all out. So that was unfortunate. I wish I still had those. They'd be worth
Tim's
a lot of money
box
these days, probably.
Sucked up his Hellraisers.
Yeah, I do still have my puzzle box, as you've seen on Instagram. So I don't try to solve it because I don't want.
No, you don't know what could.
Soon,
you don't want to play around with that.
but yeah, I love that the Cenobites are just kind of introduced with no backstory or anything. Although we will get a little bit of that later on, but it's like they just come out of nowhere, and you're like,
and
what
like
is
Pinhead,
this?
who has become arguably one of the biggest horror icons out there, like gets such a lackluster introduction to something. He's just one of the 4 at that point. I mean, then he, you could tell he takes a lead role in it, but at first they're just all there. And I was like, for some reason I remember more of an introduction for him. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't really have a lot to say in the first movie. If you go look at quotes, I was looking up Pinhead quotes, and the first movie there's like this little tiny short list. Well, then in the sequel, of course, it gets a lot of cool lines because I think people loved Pinhead, and he became really the focus of the series. Right. He became the popular one, and so they started giving him more screen time.
And didn't he was this the one where he was like, no, don't, and that was it, right? I always get confused if that was the first or second one, but yeah, it's like he seems so like such a non-factor in terms of what now you associate the series with, of course. But it's funny when you see the opening, but then again, funny, yes, it's like you want to do a comparison. It's like for the first Friday the 13th, Jason was was all about surrounding him, but he was in it for literally, 2 seconds?
Well, I kind of was about to make that same comparison because, a lot of people enjoy Friday the 13th Part 2 more than the original just because, it's Jason. And it's kind of the same way with the sequel here, which we'll talk about. HELLBOUND, HELLRAISER II came out a year later in 1988. And this one was directed by Tony Randall, written by Peter Atkins, starring Doug Bradley, Ashley Lawrence, and Claire Higgins. Now, this is a direct follow-up to the first film. Dr. Channard has sent a new patient, a girl, warning of the terrible creatures that have destroyed her family, Cenobites who offer the most intense sensations of pleasure and pain. But Channard has been searching for the doorway to hell for years, and Kirsty must follow him to save her father and witness the power struggles among the newly damned. And this one actually opens with a recap of the end events of Hellraiser, so it ties together directly. But this one did everything a sequel should do. I mean, it made everything bigger and better, and you just got to see more of the Cenobites. You got to see more of hell, more gore, and that's why personally I loved this one. I think more than the first movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely like this one better because I think it like I said, or now you kind of know what's going on. You get the logistics of it, and then they added some new elements to it, which were were kind of like and you felt like you were waiting for the Cenobites to come, and they weren't like what the heck is this thing, it's like you couldn't wait till they came, on there, and so it's like it's definitely a different, a big step up from the first one, which is not saying that the first one was bad in any way. I mean, the first one I thought was great, and the second one just is even better.
I kind of look at it like Alien and Aliens. Like, not to put this on the level.
Right, no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but Alien was like its own thing, and it was really good. And then Aliens came along and just gave you more of everything, and it was action, and it was blah blah blah, and it was popcorn and awesome. And that's kind of what Hellraiser 2 is to Hellraiser 1 to me. Hellraiser, the original, is a great movie, and it introduces all this stuff, and for that reason alone, it's a classic. But Hellraiser 2 kind of just gave you all of the good stuff that you, as a horror fan, you want to see, the gore and the guts and the backstories and everything. So
yeah, and this one kind of gave it that subtitle, with Hellbound, it's Hellraiser 2, so it kind of definitely like they started to know that they kind of had a franchise going here now, possibly, and they were gonna just continue it with the right form of the way to go, make it bigger, better, and more backstory. So.
Yeah, and it kind of had a better, I don't want to say it's a better story, but as far as a movie goes, to me, it was a more entertaining story arc because you had the young girl.
And more Ashley Lawrence, which I like. So.
More Ashley Lawrence. You've got the young girl who's a factor now. So now you've got a younger player in there who's battling these things, which, like I said, I've always enjoyed the concept of kids who are kind of innocent having to battle pure evil. I think that's kind of a cool.
And I like that she was a puzzle expert, which was kind of a cool thing. They said she was like this puzzle expert. Yeah. Which was kind of a cool thing.
And I like that you had returning characters that were still had their own motivations, and then you got to see more of Pinhead's world, which looked very depressing, by the way. Like, their visions of hell.
Yeah, and his backstory.
Yeah, then you had the whole backstory because you get to see... And I didn't remember this early... It's been a while since I've seen these movies. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, I've seen fairly frequently, but for some reason I had blocked out of my mind that they actually introduced Doug Bradley without makeup in this film.
Right, I completely... I vaguely remember it, but I completely forgot how much of a point they made.
Yeah, because I know they make that point again in later films, and that's where I was thinking it came from. But it was actually this early on. You get to see Pinhead's backstory, who he was, and you actually get to see glimpses of the other Cenobites as they were in human form, which is cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like they really kind of give you it's like they add little things that you may not have thought you needed. But they kind of but they put it in there, and it's welcome when you get it.
Yeah. So, I really enjoyed Hellbound Hellraiser 2. If there's one I had to watch over and over, I think it would be this one in terms of just pure entertainment value. And this one ended. We should go back and talk about how the way Hellraiser ended, because it had a crazy It was
Yeah.
great. Like, they didn't have the budget to do this right, but it had a freaking dragon, like a skeleton dragon at the end. I had totally blocked that out. That this skeletal dragon appeared and all this mess. But this one kind of ends kind of a goofy way as well, where this big pillar, you see it, like it's a big pillar, square pillar thing.
Yeah, where they all go in.
Yeah, like all the
they're
Cenobites are kind of sucked into it, and it's basically it would be a great haunted house prop because it's a big column with like baby dolls stuck to it and stuff.
Yeah, really like disturbing looking thing, and it's like one more thing now for some collector to go look for, as you see in the third one. But
but that ending is important because it plays right into the events of our next movie, which is Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth. This one came out 4 years later in 1992. It was directed by Anthony Hickox, and it was written by Peter Atkins, who had also done the sequel, and Tony Randall, who had directed the sequel. So you had some ties to the second movie, which is good. And it starred Terry Farrell, of course, Doug Bradley, Kevin Bernhardt, and the summary is
Terry Farrell too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pinhead is stuck in
another classic 80s actress, sorry. And of course from Star Trek, what was it, Deep Space Nine?
Yeah, you're right. Summary, Pinhead is stuck in a block after the big confrontation in HELLBOUND. The block containing Pinhead and the puzzle cube is bought by a young playboy as sculpture. Pinhead busies himself escaping by getting the playboy to lure victims to his presence so he can use their blood. Once free, he seeks to destroy the puzzle cube so he need never return to hell, but a female reporter is investigating the grisly murders and stands in his way. And I kind of like this one.
I gotta say, I know I was all prepared to go into this podcast saying that second one was my favorite, but there's something about this one edged it out by a bit. I don't know if it was that I loved how they made a more like a scarier, more vicious, iconic Pinhead. Like this, he's like he's screaming, and the other ones he's just and he's like, come to this one. You see him like screaming, and he's got this full on like mean streak in him. It's unlike like that the other ones didn't have, and this one just ups the gore. Like it's just something about it. It's just very vicious of what this one compared to the other ones. I mean, in some of the sequences, and and here's the thing. I kind of remember. I could be wrong because like a lot of these. I wasn't into the series as much when I was, I think it was a few years after they all came out when I really saw them all. But here's the thing. I kind of remember this one being one of the first, like, really promoted mainstream ones. Like, I kind of remember seeing the trailer for this and the posters for this. Like, this was a big deal. Like, Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth kind of a thing. I could be wrong. But I just kind of remember that having this as a bigger promotion than the other two.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone else remembers that. Let me know if you kind of know about that, because I'm definitely not a Hellraiser expert. I will tell you that right off the bat. I am not a Hellraiser expert. Like I said, after 3, I don't even know which ones I saw. I probably have seen. I want to say I may have seen one or two of the others, and I don't even know which ones. That's how. How like casual of a Hellraiser fan I was. But I think now after watching 3 again, I don't remember enjoying it as much as I did this time.
Yeah, actually, I had seen it fairly recently because I had watched it for when I was trying to attempt to watch all the Hellraiser films a while back. And so I'd seen it fairly recently, so I remembered several scenes in it. But I think I enjoyed it more this time around, having just watched it back to back with the first 2. Because it does have some tie-in, because obviously you see, that's where the box came from. It came from the end of Hellraiser 2. I mean, that's stuff you don't remember after years and years of not seeing them.
4 years after, I mean.
Yeah, so it definitely has some direct ties. It just goes kind of off on its own. And this one introduced some new Cenobites, which was cool.
Yeah, well, and it's like, and you got to see their creation, basically.
Yeah.
I kind of like it, and they become. It's like you kind of get like a little history that they almost become like a an embodiment of what they do, you know? It's like the one guy, like, what was it, like Camera Head?
Yeah,
they called
I
him,
love
right?
I love the fan nicknames for these guys, but I mean, I don't know if they're credited that way in the movie.
He was. I think he was credited as Camera Head.
Okay, yeah.
Or
so
something.
Camera Head, he has like a camera for an eye.
Yeah, because he was the cameraman, and then the girl, like the friend, I guess the girl that she like kind of took under her wing there for a while. She was like she had the cigarette coming out of her because she smoked.
She
I guess.
was.
I don't know. I guess
Dreamer, I believe.
Dreamer, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, because she kept saying she had these dreams. Yeah. So there was, and then there was the one guy with the I don't know if he had a name, but the one where he was shooting out the discs.
Yeah, he is just called CD.
Yeah, because he had like his mouth was like a CD player. I thought that was kind of funny too. That like literally like so it was like and it was kind of neat how they embodied that into them. You saw their creation of them, what they were, and it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple more. There was Barbie, who's the one that has barbed wire wrapped all around his head.
Right.
And then the last one that was introduced was Piston Head. And he was seen very briefly.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he had like the piston gear thing coming out of the side of his head.
Oh, and he kept digging in his head. That was the Playboy guy, right? Yeah, like the thing kept digging into his head. Oh, right. Okay, yeah, I didn't know what his name was, but now let me ask you. At that point, I can't remember. Did they actually? I mean, because I saw 1 and 2 last week, and then 3 today. But was Pinhead named Pinhead previously? Like, or did they was that just a kind of did they call him that in the movie?
No.
Ever. She did in this one, which I thought...
In
you're
fact,
right, okay. So was that the first time he was uttered as Pinhead?
I believe so, because I think, if I recall, and I may be way off base, but I remember reading an article that Clive Barker did not like that they called him Pinhead, or that was his nickname, because I believe he's called... I think Pinhead was originally called, like, the Father or the Master, something like that. And he really didn't like that nickname, but it stuck. And yeah, you're right. I noticed that too. In the third movie, it's the first time they actually call him Pinhead.
Yeah, because she's like, "Take that, Pinhead," which I mean makes sense. It's funny though. I love Terry Farrell. I think she does a great job, but for some reason, she didn't sell the line the way she needed to. The way it should have came off as if she was making like I know it was probably intended to kind of nickname him Pinhead for the obvious reason that he had pins in his head, but the way she delivered it is as if that was his official name that everyone should know. It should have been
like a slander or something like,
Yeah, but she said, "Stop it, Pinhead!" Like, "Stop it, Carl!" Yeah. It just didn't go right, and I don't know if they had other takes or they really were at a tight budget, or they just did not get it. Or she just completely misread the way that line was supposed to go, but it's funny because it's such a small nitpick. But but now that you told me that little backstory, it like even made it's even funnier because it's like I'm like she said it. She goes, "Okay, take that, Pinhead," as if we're like, oh. Yeah. Okay, that's like Jason. Is named Jason. Everyone knows he's Jason. So when someone says, "Hey, Jason," it makes sense. But it's like she named him. Like,
and he doesn't dispute it. That's what's funny.
Yeah, he doesn't even go like, "That is not my name."
By the way, I just looked it up. His name was the Hell Priest or the Priest.
Oh, okay. Now, see, that is a kick-ass name. But, Pinhead now, you can't change it because we all know him as Pinhead. But, yeah, like, that was good. But, that again, can you imagine her trying to deliver that line? She couldn't even do this one.
Yeah.
But, and this one, I got to say, I think what really, like, just clinched this movie out of the three, that just kind of edged it out, was that when Pinhead finally came back fully, at the club. And I thought they did one of the coolest scenes when they literally you see him like just all the carnage that's going on. And then they cut to the shot of the door and the blood just oozing out. And you hear still going.
Yeah, that was cool.
And you hear still more carnage going on. And you can only imagine what's going on. And you just see the blood slowly like flow out under the door. And I was like, that is a sick scene. Yeah. I'm like, that is a great idea to do it that way. And and it's just like this one, I just loved that they upped the gore, they upped the thing. I mean it was so funny. Like, I mean, there some cheesy spots in it, absolutely, when she's just like that one sequence, that extended chase where she's like running through the city, and it's like you can almost hear them say, "Cue stoplight."
Yeah.
Or, "Look out, cue electricity spot, and it's like, she's moving around like it's literally a scene from the Universal tour, but it's still, at that point already, you're just enjoying the movie enough that, you look past those things, but it was cool. I liked it. They did even more backstory, there's still, and it's funny, they still kept one of the themes about like a daughter trying to get the father, which kind of is a good parallel, I guess, if you're saying he was like kind of, you said like in a hell priest, but you said he was kind of nicknamed like the father or something, even though it was the hell
priest,
what was the hell priest, but which is father, another way. So it's like that's kind of like that's a parallel they did twice now, but it works, So
there was some bad acting in this one, especially the cameraman who you had affectionately referred to as Hulk Hogan meets Sam Elliott.
Wasn't it? He had the Hulk Hogan like facial, like with the mustache going down like that, but yet he was grizzled like the typical Sam Elliott does in every other movie he does. So it's like no, it's really every movie. I was just trying to cut him some slack, but and I love that one scene when he bothered me. He's like, what can I do for you? And he's like, why? And he can't turn the channel. It's so funny, like that. But that guy, like that's what he reminds me of. It's like it is, and he doesn't need to be more than that in it, and it's like, but it was still I don't know, I just something about this third one I loved. I don't know if it was that it just had the most action, because the other ones relatively had a lot of stuff going on, but this is the first one to just like where they made Pinhead like the he really became this like main true villain. And and it's like and I think if like I mean, like I said, I could be wrong because I don't remember any of the ones past this. But I mean, maybe someone out there who's seen them all will probably say, "What are you, crazy?" But I mean, this one obviously looks like this is maybe where he got his like his full identity of what he does. I don't know. I don't remember the other ones after. You may know better too, Tim. Is he more like this?
I'm very hazy on. I think I watched up to maybe 6, but I really don't remember much at all about those. I mean, I'm still gonna put 2 as my favorite of the 3, but I will say I really enjoyed 3 much more than I thought I would.
Yeah. So now, but I mean, like, here's the thing: like, if someone comes in, right, and someone like just kind of getting into horror, and they've seen Friday the 13th, and they say, okay, we know Jason is the guy. I've saw Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, Freddy, the main guy, Leatherface, Chucky, all that thing. But when, if you come in to like, now you go to this series, that Pinhead is the big bad guy. You probably go watch 1 and 2 and say like, wait, why is he the whole one, like, but if you saw like 3, you'd kind of get it. I think a little bit. I mean, I could be way off based on.
Well, you also had in part 2, you had basically another villain.
Right.
You had that doctor guy. Like, you had the doctor, and he was kind of against Pinhead. So that kind of detracted away from Pinhead being the main villain.
Yeah, at some point he was like almost rooting for Pinhead in that, in that like whole thing. So he was almost like he was a villain, but also not a villain in some scenes. So yeah, I mean, like I guess you someone coming in could be a little confused on if they're watching it, after just kind of coming into the series, not knowing anything about it like that, and seeing all those other horror iconic people, first.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I think part 3 probably does one of the better jobs.
I think that's what they expected. Like, if you come in, that's what they expect. And probably me being a casual fan of it, not remembering, I'm only seeing 1 or 2 a couple of times maybe, and then, and then watching it over again and seeing that. Like, I could, I even got that. I said, well, I remember him doing more things. But I probably remembered 3 just because that's the one that like maybe stood out. So it's like, that's probably when you like a new fan would go like, this is why now this is what I was thinking he was going to be like in 1 and 2.
It's interesting. The cover art even more prominently features him than the first 2.
Right.
If you look at it. Yeah, so you can tell his popularity was definitely on the rise.
Right. So, and that's I think what was so good, done well about these movies is like, it's almost like they read the audience. They could tell.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they keep making them. I mean, it's just, they just keep churning them out, Yeah,
and they don't, and the thing is they read the audience and they give you more than we want without sacrificing anything, at least up through these first 3. Like, they didn't sacrifice storyline just to make, to give people what they want just for the hell of it. No, they still kept a good story going on. Like, because even the third one, which arguably probably had the least intriguing story, maybe because it's kind of similar. You know, you didn't get much new other than now he's on Earth, you know, coming out and like looking, I guess, free on Earth or whatever. But you know, but still, it's like you still got all that like that Pinhead carnage you probably wanted, maybe a little more of in the first two, possibly. I don't know. So it's an interesting series to watch. I'm right at this point. I thought I'd be like, you know, like, remember we were like, oh, this is going to be torture watching all those. At this point right now, I'm kind of excited to see the next one, to see where it goes. Because I don't remember anything past these at all. Like, and I remember these somewhat vaguely, so.
Yeah, and part 3 ends with the puzzle cube is buried underneath the building, and then when you see a final shot, the kind of twist ending is the final shot of the building, it's completely decorated.
Right.
In the puzzle box design, and that apparently plays into the next film in the series, which will be Bloodline,
right?
Which we will get to next week.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's these are great series. It's so interesting. It's so different from the other horror franchises that we've covered that are all slashers. I mean, this is not a slasher at all.
That's true. Yeah, and I think that's another thing. Is that you're right. That's a good point, because most of the other think about all the other horror icon villains like that, the big ones. Their roots are slasher roots.
This guy's a straight up demon.
Yeah.
So.
And he basically worked for his icon. You know, he didn't just start slashing up people. He worked hard to get to that level.
And if you think about it, he's probably got the huge advantage over any of these other guys.
Yeah,
like
right.
Pinhead could probably kick all their asses.
Absolutely, yeah. He'd just do it much slower.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's see what your beer pairing you came up with. I'm interested in this one.
So this one is it's got the perfect name, although spelled different. It's by one of my favorite breweries, especially now. It's upping because it had that one that beer that I just had, that Never Tell Me the Odds, the Han Solo beer, and it's Hellraiser, but it's spelled HELLRAZER. But it's by Duclaw Brewing Company, Baltimore, Maryland. And just as a funny note, their address is 8901 Yellow Brick Road. That's just,
nice.
To me, that's just kind of hilarious. But anyway, so Hellraiser IPA is a medium-bodied golden IPA that gets in your face from the first sweet sip to crisp, dry finish with the exotic tropical fruit flavors and aromas of New Zealand Motueka hops, which I have to say I don't think I've ever heard of that hop yet. Thought I knew all the hops. That one I did not know. With just enough malt character to keep the aggressive hop presence and unruly 7.5 ABV in check, this brew was seemingly born to kick ass and raise hell. So that kind of fits in well, not just by title.
Yeah, that sounds good, because I love tropical IPAs.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, Tim and I are big fans of those. So, and we said before, so the hop variety is Motueka, or Motueka. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm sure I butchered it, but whatever. The grains it says pale malt, dextrin malt, and Carrara malt. So there's a lot going on in this beer. It's very interesting. And with 7.5, it's still at that cusp of being not too heavy, and sounds like it's really delicious. The only problem is what I understand is it's on hiatus, they said. So it's not being like it's supposedly a yearly beer, but I guess right now they're not making it. But I don't know. I can't imagine it not coming back. It seemed like it was very popular, and it got I think it was ranked pretty high on one of the sites I saw. So
cool.
So yeah, we'll have to look that up, and hopefully it'll come out again.
All right, so our 6 degrees of decapitation. Last week, we asked you to connect Jennifer Tilly to Mel Tillis. So
every time you read out what the strange and fascinating things
so
I
weird.
pick, yeah.
But you can still do it in 2 is the frustrating part. So Jennifer Tilly was in The Getaway with Burton Gilliam?
I guess Gilliam, yeah.
Burton Gilliam was in Uphill All the Way with Mel Tillis. How about that? So,
Unbelievable.
This is the first time I read this week's.
Oh, you like this one? Yeah. This one will definitely make you go, whoa. But,
So we're going to ask you this week to connect Ashley Lawrence to Joey Lawrence.
I know the Lawrence is spelled, I know the Lawrences are spelled different ways, but it's my, I like to play on the words, and once again, apparently you can get this in 2. So I'm convinced. I don't know why they even call it 6 degrees anymore. Really, it's like maybe 7. Kevin Bacon.
Call it 2 degrees.
It really, ours is. We might as well call it 2 degrees of decapitation, because I have not yet defined one. I figured this one was going to be 3 easily, but no. Yeah. Apparently, both of them worked enough to get. Although Ashley Lawrence, she stopped for a while, but I think she's still doing stuff too.
Oh, okay.
I made sure Civil Gore follows her on Twitter and Instagram. still as attractive as she was in the Hellraiser film. So
yeah.
But so hopefully she'll still keep doing stuff because she's actually really good. And it's funny, you could see the difference in actually her performance from 1 to 2. Also, I mean, 1 she was a little, actually all the performances in 1 were a little over the top, kind of. But the second one, they seemed to reel everybody in, and they were really good. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Like for some reason, the father in the first one just felt the need to yell every one of his lines. Did you notice that? It's like, great! Oh, wonderful! It's like, I'm like, oh my god, why is he yelling everything? But but yeah. So.
Or maybe there was so much crazy stuff going on in 2 that they seemed tame by comparison.
It could have been. Yes, you're right. It may have been contained. But I thought she was much better. Oh, she was good in both, I should say. I think it was like, just the because I think the first one was like, it's funny, it's like the actors delivered their lines a little bit more, like, almost like they were in a theater as opposed to a movie. Like, it was doing a play. That could have been
the directing. I mean, that was the directorial debut. That's probably directing.
Right, yeah. I mean, you got to cut him some slack. It was his first directorial role, so yeah.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to do the rest of the franchise. That'll be 7 films.
Oh, God. But I really better start, like, tomorrow because I seem to, I always have this grand plan. I mean, with 4th of July during this week, that's like pretty much a lost day. So, and then, on the weekends, I have to really catch up. So hopefully, what I'll try and do is probably watch 1 tomorrow night, which is Tuesday for all you people that are listening to this on Friday. Then I probably end up missing Wednesday because 4th of July. I'll try and do Thursday, Friday, and probably get the rest over the weekend, I guess. Wow, that's a lot of movies we got to fit in there.
Obviously, we're going to have to blow through those quick next week.
Yeah, we're not.
But I don't think that's going to be a problem.
No, and we definitely don't want to put you guys in the pain and suffering.
Yes, that's right.
Tim does a better Pinhead than me. I don't do a good Pinhead voice.
Well, I have an advantage because I can artificially lower my voice after I do my Pinhead.
Oh, you do. So that's the secret.
That's the secret.
Well, you did do that for my Freddy. All fairness, too.
Yeah,
we did alter the voices a little bit to get them to be more screen.
But I don't have to touch
magic.
Crypt Keeper.
No, he keeps. Although you can't. Well, sometimes we make him. What would you do? You did one thing, right?
Well, I made him a little higher.
Higher pitched. Yeah. Well, that was. Remember, wasn't that the time I was fighting the cold too, and I had to do it for our podcast and Coaster Radio, and I was like literally So that is a very taxing voice to do.
Yeah.
And so I was struggling, and with a cold, and I had to do it for 2 different podcasts. That was rough.
But anyway, so maybe we'll give you maybe give you a sketch next week.
Maybe. Let's see. We'll see what the puzzle box unfolds.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, guys. So we're out of here. We'll catch you back here next week.